Today is my penultimate day of the challenge, and I want to talk about regret and victimhood, or feeling like a victim, because today I'm feeling a bit like a victim myself. So, okay, let's just start with the astrological weather. Coughing. So, currently, Moon is in my 12th house in Aries. Also, Mars is retrograding through my 12th house over the last couple of months now. Yeah, almost couple of months. And 12th house is collective stuff, ancestral stuff as well, but collective more, and which is kind of similar. And it's certainly unconscious, so it's like not easily accessible. It sneaks up on us. We don't really know what the source is. It's vague. It's not clear. It's like haunting, but it's not. It's there, but it's like we can't shake it off. It's all that kind of annoying stuff. And plus, it's Aries, which is all about anger, aggression, violence, fear, courage. Action, doing, will, independence, doing your own thing, not caring for others, as in not worrying about others and all that stuff. So I've been feeling so much anger, but it's kind of like it's suppressed, I suppose, in that I'm not in I've been in a bit of a funk again in one of my dips, and again, that's another astrological kind of signature, but that's not for now. My point is, but it's like I had during that kind of funky kind of phase, I'm having peaks, I'm having really real peaks of like excitement and joy and the rest. And my point with this is that maybe I'm in this funk because I'm suppressing anger. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's like if that's the case, I'm wondering, wouldn't it be when you start suppressing it, it boils up. So for me, it's not like that, and maybe it's not for anyone. But so for me, it's like funk, peaks here and there, and then funk again or something, and then anger. And anger often and only triggered in my case over the last couple of months. Well, mostly just by things like I was just coming home after dropping something in the post office, and I got tangled up in bags and rain and whatever, and I was livid. And I know the feeling of immense fury over something ridiculous, particularly something I can't control, which is exactly kind of why I get angry, because I can't control it. But I'm joking aside, and this kind of silliness maybe aside, I think it's deeper issue there is, well, could be that I'm picking up on all kinds of anger around me, energetically, but I think, and that's possible, and especially like I've been watching news lately, which I don't usually, and some pretty grim, which is my choice, but maybe there is that as well. But I don't know. I think really the bottom line for me potentially is that I'm just dissatisfied with my life. And even though on so many levels I am so happy, and on many of these videos I shared how blissfully happy I am in my life, this is my point. And that was genuine, and this is regular for me. I go through those phases of dissatisfaction, then satisfaction, and so it's nothing new, but I'm just speaking about it. And so then I start thinking like, what are those things? What exactly? So I'm not going to list them, but kind of like everything and anything. And maybe not in a nutshell, it's like my life has been too stable, and it's like I need a shake up. And whenever I did, and usually, well, did I instigate it? Often I do. I kind of, yeah. When the ones I instigate happen, I think those are the ones that kind of end up not regretting, but like not regretting, just like changing my mind. It's like, no, it wasn't really that, it wasn't about that in that sense. Not regret, just changing mind, because regret is the piece I want to talk about. So this isn't it. So yeah, so part of this process for me is when these angers come up, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, what is it? You know, why is it coming up? And I think for me again personally, and it's something I recently found somewhere in relation to some of my whatever charts, various charts, not just astrology, that I have a lot of forceful energy. Now, this is not news to me, but it's something, and this is the regret piece, that it's something that I have spent all my life suppressing. Now, of course, you know, I don't want to be going about being forceful, like aggressive or violent or anything. And I'm not in that way violent or even aggressive, but I do have this energy that just kind of like wants to charge, not take charge. I'm not interested in anyone else really. And only if I am to take charge over anyone else is if I just like I can keep them out of my way. But there is that forcefulness and that really like non-feminine, really bad, well, not bad, but really strong masculine energy, penetrating and just like, yeah, just that. So what am I, 51, and this is the piece I did mention, I think, in the last video about the age and younger generations that I watch, and I'm like, oh my God. And not all of them, maybe I'm just lucky to have, you know, connected with the ones that I admire and, you know, think they're amazing. But I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know any of that when I was their age. I mean, I was, like I said, always on this self-improvement path, absolutely. But I remember I was looking to patriarchal, and not patriarchal in the, well, probably actually some of it definitely was patriarchal in its message, but more like, you know, the old wise men, you know, like, I don't know, Nietzsche, Hegel, other authors, you know, like Balzac or Dostoevsky was a big influence on me. And that's where I was looking for wisdom. And that's another order, that's a different world. And I spent most of up until my 40s, looking to those sources to inform my life's decisions. Not as in, I don't go there for asking advice and then like Tara would do and then let's see what comes up. No, I was like learning life from them, like having no maybe real life mentors. Those were my real life mentors, but they're like ancient, they're old, you know, old in the sense from a different order, different old paradigm, right? So I spent my 40 years doing that, and you know, yeah, let's say, I mean, I'm simplifying, but let's say. And a lot of that was, you know, you don't, at least that's what I was taking from all these sources, right? That this anger, it's, well, anger now, but this kind of forceful energy is just not desirable, you know, in a woman, or just desirable. And again, I sound like I play down my womanhood. I didn't grow up in a sexist society in that way, where women are kept under, not at all. Quite the opposite, actually. But something there that I have been suppressing, my point is, and I now live a pretty, and yet in so many ways, I love my life. I love it. And yet this anger keeps coming up at a time when it's happening in my 12th house. Like I say, there's a deeper themes there that I can't just dismiss. I'd be unwise to dismiss them. So the regret piece, is that I regret that I look to those sources to teach me about life, to mentor me. I didn't have any other mentors, and other mentors I had, I remember a couple. I love them dearly. I mean, I've actually been recently in my terms, like recently, well, I don't know, let's say 5 years, I don't know. I saw them, I visited them, and it was lovely to see them, really. But they're just, again, of a different generation, and they're older than me anyway. They were about 15 years older than me, so I always sought out those older people to show me the way, if you like, to mentor me. I'm Pluto in Virgo, so we are either mentors or we love to be mentored. And yeah, they were progressive compared to where I was before, and certainly compared to where I came from. So there was always progress, but it just seems so rooted in that old paradigm. and that's 40 years in the making, let's say. Let's just pick a number. And I regret that, as in. And so the regret piece there as well is like, for years, again, from those sources, I would regret, no one wants to die regretting that. If you arrive at the end of your life and you have regrets, you haven't lived well, And I was terrified by that concept of like finding myself at the deathbed with regrets. And I'm like, if it happens, I'll be like, not great, but, and the but piece is kind of one of the pieces here, is that I just was like, well, fuck that. I mean, am I gonna just beat myself up till the cows come home and I die to not have regrets? What does that mean? I mean, how am I gonna know if I'm gonna regret something or not? And it just seemed like a whip that I was basically self-flagellating, kind of self-punishing whip. And then I would occasionally just kind of go into the opposite of that and say, well, if there is a regret, I just need to employ or apply grace and compassion for myself to accept it, that that's the choice I made and that's the kind of outcome I got. And I certainly had very intense recently, like of the last, again, 5 years, maybe a bit less, situations where life changes that induce deep grief. And that grief was, and not because anyone died, but, well, actually there was once that, but it was actually unrelated. Sorry, I just don't know why I mentioned it. It's irrelevant. So the grief was essentially because I was mourning what wasn't, and what didn't happen. I mean, it happened when that was the piece about grief. So I broke through or free, but there was so many years when I didn't. So I was grieving for not being able to do it then and living in that kind of a prison. Not literal, just, metaphorical. And then regret that I didn't do it earlier, that I couldn't do it earlier, and didn't have the strength or the aptitude or whatever. And then, so like I say, being the age that I am, and then being surrounded mostly visually not visually, like just, I mean, because it's on my phone, this is kind of my social life, is on a couple of platforms, and I follow people I like, and they vibe with me, and I like their vibe or whatever. I enjoy seeing them. That's what I mean, visual. I don't really necessarily speak to them, but I listen to them or read them and all that. And they're mostly considerably younger, and they're great. And I'm just so like a big mum, which I'm not. But if I'm metaphorically, again, speaking symbolically, I don't know. I do feel so proud, just so proud that these kids are, that's who they are and what they are. As in, so evolved already and so switched on, and just really are bringing a new order, and it's wonderful. But I do feel old in the sense that I'm 51, and it's like I literally haven't got that much time to live that new order, not to mention that do I fit in yet there fully. And and I wonder whether this anger that I started this video with is me kind of, maybe it's about making peace that there is only so much more I can do, because there is that finiteness and time, and that it's running out, and I'm still have plenty of time to do stuff that will reduce the likelihood, or rather reduce the amount of regret I might have to then work through. And there is something about that work. I feel it's very humane and very human and very humbling and very poignant. It's almost like, what's the human experience without regret? And it's kind of what dragged me back into my ways that are less evolved, in terms of I don't know, in terms of if evolution and being evolved means you're always high vibing, or you're always not happy, just like have that glow and radiance about you that's coming from I don't know, just joyfulness of being alive in exactly the way that you are, kind of thing. So I get that, but I'm not certainly always in that space, no way. But the point I'm making, and Dostoevsky is a kind of good thing to bring into this, is that for decades I used to daydream or fantasize to be one of his characters. That's kind of my idea of not just success, but the life I wanted to live. I love those absolutely kind of anonymous and invisible characters. In fact, if I had a superpower, it would be invisible. So there you go. Go figure. I genuinely, and even now when I think, I like the idea, and not because I go around to look at anyone else. It's just that I can enjoy the world without anyone interrupting me, or bothering me, or pestering me, or whatever, or just anything. Just engaging with me. And yet, I do love to, exchange a smile with a stranger on the street, with a cashier at the counter, or, a few interesting kind of fun words with always like that in passing with strangers, mostly. And where was I with this? Hold on. Yeah, invisible. So yeah, those characters are just like no one even notices, and they're just one of many. This machine, bureaucratic cog, of a company or whatever. They're working for the state, Russian, right? But they have a secret life. Not again that there's anything secretive about it, but there is a richness of inner life and just life. And okay, in that case, might have not been as that in itself wasn't maybe what was attractive about them, but this kind of being invisible, just being just no one, being a no one, and just going home and having that stability, which is kind of my life, really. Oh God. So what is this anger about? What is it? What? And it's just like, oh my God. So I shared what I just did, and it feels genuine, feels real for me, So what am I not happy about? That I'm so angry about? What it is that is unlived? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so 17 minutes enough. Okay. I'll be back tomorrow, and that's it then for, I don't know. Well, maybe I'll be back the following day, no, but it will be without rules, which I will enjoy.